Can you CQ? Maybe, maybe not. Hi, I'm Jim, W6LG. Well, that's a surprise. I'm surprised. So, I'm surprised by the amount. It's crap in it.
I want to be understood. I'm a communicator, not a broadcaster.
Greetings, I'm Jim, W6LG, as you can tell by the call sign growing out of the back of my head.
Hi, I'm Jim, W6LG for Ham Radio Basics. Welcome to my radio room here on Wolf Mountain. Nothing's really more basic than calling CQ, and I hear it done often wrong and in a way that's probably not going to result in an answer. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about calling CQ. Let me give you an example of what I hear, and then we'll get into how to do it, or how I think you should do it. Oftentimes I'll hear somebody say CQ, CQ, KF6, SFS, CQ, CQ. And that's it. And a pause. And if you happen to tune across that guy, first of all, you're not going to know what his call sign is because it was KF6, SFS, and he didn't do it phonetically, and it is at Sierra Fox Sierra, or Fox Sierra Fox, or Sierra X-ray Fox. Can't tell. So let's talk about some ways to call CQ where you are likely to get an answer, and let's also sort of set a time frame for doing it and a length of time to call CQ. There are, in my view, two types of CQ. One which is just sort of general, you're looking for anybody, anywhere. You don't need to say that, but you're just calling CQ, so you say CQ, CQ. There's also a directed CQ where you're looking for a specific area. You might be saying CQDX, which means to me you're looking for somebody that's not on your continent, but if you're in North America, maybe you're pointed at South America, or you're looking for Europe or Africa. You can also say CQ, CQDX Europe to make it really clear you're looking for Europe. If you tune across a guy who's calling CQDX Europe and you're in Canada, it's really not advisable to answer that guy because he's looking for Europe and you're in Canada. And it happens so often when I call CQ that if I'm looking for Europe because the band is open to Europe, 20 meters is open to Europe, then I'll get a guy in Kansas who calls me, and I think, well, okay, I've been saying Europe, you're in Kansas. Anyway, a lot of people have put up videos on how to call CQ, and some of them have said that CQ had nothing to do with seek you, and actually it does. In fact, some of the examples of how to call CQ on YouTube are just way wrong. One guy says you need to be on an even numbered frequency like 14202 or 7202. No, you can be anywhere. We have a neat thing called a VFO, and it can tune anywhere in between. Anywhere on the 20-meter phone band, for example, is fair game. So if you're calling CQ on 14268.5 or 0.68 or whatever, the guy that tuned you in, or the gal that tuned you in, needs to be able to tune to that frequency. You don't have to be on an even numbered frequency. CQ goes back to radio telegraphy days, and it had a French meaning, meaning an inquiry. I speak no French, don't understand it, can't give it to you, but if you Wikipedia it, you'll see that CQ really was an inquiry call. And it evolved, it was adopted by the United States, and it really did mean CQ, or a general inquiry call. In fact, I've got some plaques that are from the 1920s, and they're falling apart. This one is one that was hanging on the wall in a telegraphy office, and this one happens to have the Q signals on it. One that is overused by us a lot is QSL. I would encourage you not to use that one as much as you can. So here's Department of Commerce, Bureau of Navigation, radio service, and it says General Inquiry Call, CQ, from, and again it goes to the French language, which controlled a lot of the communications, DE, from, invitation to transmit or go ahead, K, and on it goes. And so a lot of the things that we're familiar with today are in here. Some are very different. Anyway, this was International Morse Code and Conventional Signals. List of abbreviations to be used in radio communications. And again, at this time there wasn't much in the way of voice communication, so these were used on code. I'm a big believer in plain language, and so in a subsequent episode, we'll talk about emergency communications, and these are plaques that I have, or awards I have won for participating in real emergencies where stuff went on. I'll read to you this one, which is one I'm most proud of. Whereas Jim Heath displayed extraordinary unselfishness and dedication to the welfare of Nevada County residents in performing above and beyond the call of duty and providing support to the firefighting efforts and in assisting the many residents who suffered losses. That was during the 49er fire in 1988 from the Board of Supervisors. Back to calling CQ. I'm going to call CQ. Let's see who we can raise it. The way I call CQ is I want to do it for about 30 seconds to a minute and not any longer than that. But I'm going to say CQ, CQ, Whiskey 6, Lima Golf W6LG, and I'll say that a number of times so that someone listening, especially if it's in Europe, may not be hearing me all that well, and so he'll get the opportunity to get my call sign straight. In the past, I've had some really difficult calls like WB6JZC, and that one was a tough one, so I would repeat that several times. Also, when I call CQ today, I'm going to call just CQ, and I'll indicate which way my antennas are pointed. Because I'm not looking to go over the North Pole, it's not likely that's going to happen at this time of day. So there is a general CQ, and then there's a directed CQ where you're looking for a specific area. And repeat CQ, CQ several times. Give your call sign several times. Not in a row, but maybe CQ, CQ, W6LG, Whiskey 6, Lima Golf, CQ, CQ. Also, before you call CQ, and I almost forgot, ask if the frequency is in use. Somebody may be on there, but he may be listening, and he would hear you really, really well, and he may be in the middle of a contact, and you start calling CQ on top of him, he can no longer hear the guy he's talking to. So I try to make it a rule to call CQ, to ask if the frequency is in use 3 times, just to make sure. And if somebody says it's in use, I'll move. That's why I've got a VFO. So ask if the frequency is in use, call CQ, and make it really clear when you complete your CQ call by saying W6LG listening or over, or just something so that if a guy in Europe who's maybe hearing you 4x5 knows that you're through calling CQ. And then in another episode, we'll talk about having a QSO with somebody and engaging that person in a conversation. If you want to have rapid fire contacts because you're at a national park or Route 66 or whatever, that's fine, and then you're 5'9" and you're on to the next one. But if you want to have a contact with somebody, an engagement conversation, ask them what kind of transceiver they're using or what their antenna is or where they are. Any number of things. Try to avoid politics, and there's a reason for that. I'll do that in another episode. But you'd be surprised where it will lead, and sometimes it leads to really amazing contacts where you meet a guy who on the air turns out to live have lived in your hometown, or somebody maybe you knew, or in one case a relative. So where the contact leads can be really interesting. Some guys are really good at engaging a person in conversation. Let's go call CQ, see if we can find somebody, and we'll go from there. So give me just a minute to move things around, and we'll go on 20 meters. W6LG, Whiskey 6, Lima Golf. Over.
All right, let's call CQ and see if we can raise. I'm going to do that on 20 meters. I'm going to ask if the frequency's in use first. I'm going to do that 3 times. If I don't hear anybody, then I'm going to go ahead and call CQ, and I'm going to be beaming east with 2 Yagis, and we'll see what happens. So here we go. Is the frequency in use? Is the frequency in use? Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. Is the frequency in use? Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. Is the frequency in use? Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. Is the frequency in use? Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. CQ low, CQ calling, CQ, beaming east from Northern California, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. Whiskey 6 Lima Golf calling, CQ low, CQ. CQ calling, CQ low, CQ. Beaming east from Northern California, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. Whiskey 6 Lima Golf calling, CQ, hello, CQ. CQ, here on 20 meters, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. W6LG listening. I'll try that again. CQ low, CQ calling, CQ. CQ calling, CQ. Beaming east from Northern California, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. Whiskey 6 Lima Golf calling, CQ, hello, CQ. CQ. Beaming east from Northern California, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf. W6LG listening. I hear somebody calling, but you're in my noise. I'm sorry. No copy.
W6 Lima, not Juliet, but Golf. Lima Golf, W5IB.
Hey, how are you? W5IB, W6LG. How are you? My name is Jim. Over.
Well, hello, Jim. The name here is Jay. Juliet Alpha Yankee. We're located about 50 miles southeast of Dallas.
God, you're really strong. You must have a Yagi or two pointed my way. You're like 20, 30 over. Go ahead.
I'm running a 6-band 2-element hex beam pointed at you there. Go ahead.
Okay, you hit 40 over. 6-band 2-element hex beam. Well, it's working great. Big signal. I'm using 2 4-element Yagis on separate towers with phasing lines. Alecraft K3 and a homemade amplifier. It's hot here. How about where you are, Jay? Go ahead.
Well, for the first time in about 6 weeks, I can say the last 2 days have not been hot. We normally was like, for example, last Friday we were at 107. Today,
Okay, to complete this episode on calling CQ, I called CQ. A guy answered who's a really nice guy. We had a great conversation. It lasted a lot longer than I put up on the video, but you can see where it went. There was a give and take. There was a sharing of information. We had a great time talking to each other, and it went on for a while. And in fact, subsequent emails were exchanged, and he's doing some research for me on something about a linear amplifier. So it's a guy that I'll hopefully come across again. He's really friendly, had a great sounding signal, and it was serendipitous, one of those things that happens. And that's part of the fun of ham radio. So call CQ, make it about 30 seconds, 45 seconds long. Give your call sign, indicate when you're listening, W6LG, listening for a call, and see who answers. And then you don't necessarily have to pick out the strongest one, but pick one that sounds interesting out of the group and engage that guy in a conversation. It's amazing where it goes. Anyway, thanks for listening. I've enjoyed this one. I enjoyed meeting the guy on 20 meters, and calling CQ for me is a lot of fun because it's just it's kind of fishing. You're not sure what's going to be on the end of the hook, and sometimes it's just a great conversation. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'm Jim W6LG. Call CQ. See who answers. 73.